Blessings and welcome forward to Reasonings right here at the Tree of Life. I'm your host, the Great Owl. I want to welcome you to a most wonderful, I would say, a birthday edition, So I'm celebrating yet another, wonderful cycle on the planet, and I give God thanks for, giving me the strength to do this yet another year. I just want to remind you of our wonderful partnership with Wizio.com and Tree Life Television Network. Personal video communication about the queries of life, seeking divine light within, spiritual coaching, spiritual guidance, and just the essence of learning ancient functionalities and how to be happy. So you hit me up in wizio.com/Tree Life Television Network. We leave the link in the description box. And that's the way we are moving forward, in one context to increase the connectivity. And we also want to remind you to check out the merchandise on the Tree of Life and the Seala media page, and really support the ventures because it does cost a lot, to basically do what we do, and also to go along in our lives as well too, because we are maturing into relationships and families, and as such those things cost. And so the professional and the financial arm is part of the very essence of keeping Seala Media and Tree Life Television Network going. So go on the Seala Media page, check out the Patreon, support the ventures, get some of the merchandise, and support the whole Tree Life experience, right? Yeah, because we know they watch your videos, right, brother Ramon? But this is making it a little bit more interactive with the Wizio, with the merchandise. Brother Bob also, does his own thing through his Instagram. So once again, welcome to Reasons Right at the Tree of Life. I'm your host, the Great Owl, and the man, Ramon Singh. Perfect love, brother, and the Mystic Bob. So today we're going to be talking about knowing thyself, right? So without further ado, I guess Bob was brimming to go, and then we'll come back to Brother Ramon. Knowing thyself, Brother Bob. What does that sound like to you and feel like to you?
Know thyself. First of all, know thyself is all about awareness from the roots of your own inner being of life, Mm-hmm. But it don't mean to know yourself about the systematic life, It does not help to know yourself. Know yourself means know the whole world, know the whole self, why you're here and what is more than purpose of life, So once you get to know yourself, you get to know others and know the other reality, what is played around, and know how to accept other things, deeper knowing, and other knowing what's going on being forgotten. So that you have to remind to know yourself, So know yourself, it don't necessarily mean you have to research and look for books and find knowledge how to know yourself. No. Know yourself is just observe yourself and listen to yourself. And that is the first basic fundamental law of yourself, So that's how you know your clairvoyance coming at you, your intuition coming at you, the wrong to the right coming at you, the right gender, the right total life is due to the spiritual environment, the right food you eat, what your body supposed to treat you in the right tempo, So everything you know yourself is applying everywhere based on your environment and yourself. So your environment is telling you about your nature of yourself, how nature operates within your own biological energy, how you feel in your own self-awareness, That's how you start remember what is missing in part of your soul, And your soul will tell you how you're born, why you're here, what turns bring your thought, what teach you, what knowledge bring you, and give you the part reality and give you the part information, and realize what the truth beyond the information, so that you can break out the ignorance of yourself, so that you can become peace and understanding, And when you reach that level of enlightenment, you don't have to deal with people in a humanity because you already know what's going on. You just focus on serving your own purpose, what is the awareness, what the earth giving to you, and the most I recognize it to serve love, and just be love and help others who want to be awakened out of their illusion, So that is the basic fundamental of my experience, because when I go through and research everything about myself, the Bible, and note I tell about the Egypt and the Ethiopia and the Greek and everything, I realized that my subconscious rejects everything after a while because there's something deep inside that goes to more than just the information, you know. So I start recognizing there's a new experience that is, you never know, now you know, you know. And not everything you don't know, you have to accept you don't know, then you will know. And there's a deeper part in yourself will tell you who you really are, you know.
Yeah. A deeper part of yourself to tell you who you really are. And that comes through, I guess, a lot of intense searching. And as Bob said, I guess outside of the context of like just books, but I guess that helps with an idea. And I guess something you need to cross-reference what you're feeling with what others say about, you know, what you should be feeling. So Brother Ramon, knowing thyself, to know thyself, what does that resonate? How does that resonate with you?
Man, before we start, perfect love again and blessed earth strong. May you have many more with good health and strength and prosperity, long life.
Give that, bro.
Yes, I. Yeah, man. We just give thanks to Brother Sage, great old earth strong, you know. Cause 42 years.
Yeah.
Man.
Everybody's saying looking.
Yeah, young boy. Man. Cause you probably look younger than me.
That's it,
yes, I.
That's good one, brother.
Yeah, man. Know thyself. Alright, because in my esoteric journey, you know, that's the first thing we learn. Know thyself. It's a big phrase.
True.
Like when you learn knowledge and I try to find self, it's a know yourself. You know? Jamaican people say know yourself, man. You know? So in my journey of knowing self, I go down a long road. Many esoteric things. You know, we go Egypt, we go Freemason knowledge, you know, we go thought, you know, the emerald tablets, and we go many places. But me still never truly find myself. I try to find a space in the earth, you know, but I never truly find my true self in terms of basically where we come from. Where I come from, what me I do here, so, you know?
Yeah.
Like, something create me, or me never really get that true knowledge of when me I search to the esoteric knowledge.
Oh, you understand that.
You know?
I get it.
Until me buck up and when Christ lead me to, when Seala lead me to Christ, and me start read Bible, and so now me start know myself a little better now, you know? True self, of true history. True history of the planet and of self.
Absolutely.
So where I say, okay, this is something where it's more of a foundation and more firm in terms of truth. So now a Bible teach me about myself, you see me? And show me how to know myself.
Understood.
And show me true wisdom. And I still a learn, and I still a practice, you know? We might not perfect, but to ask Father to help we into perfection. You know, help we. You see me? So we can better ourselves. So in knowing thyself, we have to know bad habits. You see me?
That's a key one.
Because as Bob said, pay attention to yourself.
True.
Pay attention how we treat others and how we talk to others. And the tone of voice how we talk to them too. You know?
That I'm learning, for real.
Yeah.
And pay attention to your intuition feeling. How you feeling till you don't do this, don't take this way.
True. Yeah, man.
That feeling ability.
Yeah,
and I would mention the point about ayahuasca, because part of yourself you found a little bit more in your expansion, your consciousness. Because my own experience, my point of view, my perspective in ayahuasca was I experienced the self, it brings back the previous birth and being upload your ancestral family or your mother, your father into your family language. They show you both branches, what my bloodline told me, you can read your own clarity and understand why your family operates today. You must accept your family, accept the reality. They love you because they understand their spirit, you know. So the ayahuasca helped me to go through that step, to remind me to break away that ignorance, help me to break away certain things you to go through and realize that I have to be careful and reflect everything. And they helped me to see the death before it happened. Because before I was in the higher water, I used to meditate yoga when I was double. Used to tell me to go here and find your higher self and know your lower self and your higher self, and don't matter, come back and talk to me. When I do the yoga at home, I feel the higher self, and I went to the universe, I see stars, and I start going to my own previous birth, and I start seeing myself death, and I start crying and do a meditation. And when I come back, I pick up the telepathy and I see your message last night. Because you run past my consciousness, yeah, and double help me to find my soul. You know, as brother keepers, as Emmanuel help you to find your brother's soul and find yourself. Yeah, that's part of the consciousness. I forgive time for dumb matter, because remind me too.
Yes,
The oneself, you know, but more deeper than the oneself, yeah man.
No, absolutely. I'm just
Yeah, man.
I'm listening because I guess to put into context, I mean, the understanding of the self, I guess it's vast. Because I mean, you speak about the higher, both of you, the higher and the lower self. And I guess you could say maybe it is a personal self and an impersonal self. And maybe the impersonal self might be in reference to the universal, the God, the source, because that is more than the knowing of the experience of the personal and the personage that creates the personality. So the impersonal self to me is the creator, the environmental field we're in, the field of vision, which is like possibility or emanence or energy, right? That is the impersonal self. The life is a stage and all of us are actors, you know, playing a role. So the impersonal self, the divine nature of things, and a divine perception. Then the personal self, but the personal self can be also universal, in that an individual might look at themselves as a quantum of their experience. Like in my amount of years, I mean, I've been through a lot, and I could say my identity is based upon, you know, the fact that I have survived so much things, and I have garnered an awareness. And Victoria was talking about it this morning, about that survival, about that sense of it not just being a celebration because hey, I feel good in myself, but in that I have survived darkness and suffering, willful ignorance and stupidity and self-annihilistic behavior, say, and belief. So the identity of self in that context, for me, I was looking at it today, could be in the personal context a human who's present, who have survived so much, bears his identity upon the strength of experience. But also in me there's a part that I know. I don't know all of myself, and I couldn't just quantify myself based upon my experience, because there's still a lot more that I haven't experienced as myself. So therefore that would go out the window. That being said, the impersonal self furnishes me the essence of God with the knowing and the idea of the vastness of who I am. So therefore I don't have to be limited by a fear or a fear perception, because those things makes the perception of self, it's like it shrinks it down, because a lot of people don't have great self-image. Am I wrong, brother? So a lot of people don't. It's this fact that a lot of people don't look at themselves as being valuable,
yes, sir.
or even valid, as having a place in life, because most of the measures they have used to acquire this information of self, they have failed by the measure, so they don't have a great view of themselves. So I can say one of the things I learned in the impersonal self and its connection to the personal self, God has shown me that all of life has a reason. It has its true purpose, right, for being here. And when you experience not just for the personal, like, hey, I am 42 or I'm 25 or I'm 60, when you don't just live life for your personal experience, the vision of self expands, and God's knowing of His creation begins to operate in you. And then You can know the higher self now, Bob. You can know the lower self. And you can... Blessed, 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 blessed!
Blessed!
Whoever that is.
True life.
Yeah.
That happen every day when you're there, true life. Yeah, true life! True life!
So somebody said happy birthday wishes. So, Brother Bob, the higher the lower self, coming to grips with the good and the bad in ourselves and still accepting that we are beautiful. How do you view the continued perception of like knowing thyself?
Oneness. Remember your own oneness of presence. And when I look inside of myself, you can't go wrong. It tells you everything the way it is. But sometimes we being not remember what you're supposed to do, what it says is alignment and that level, you see me? In awareness, you see me? And others already know itself in interpersonal interconnection. It can know itself in each soul and remember each other blueprint DNA, you know what I mean? In a fifth dimensional meditation, you know what I mean? So everybody's there having themselves, you know? It's just you have to activate other selves, the power of others to connect to other selves to make happiness around them and to get the third self and the third dimension, that's the lower self. Because I've been experiencing the lower self and then I've been right above the higher self and go through what is wrong to right, you know, and see the wrong thing, but the other side told me the right thing to guide me not to do, and they do the right thing, you know, and I see the other side help the other side to do the right thing for me while I'm doing the right thing to that side, you know. There's a lot of things that the side is always right, you see me? It's always right, it's always right. You just have to listen.
Yes.
And when it's just something that you can feel in your heart, that inner core, that voice, that perfect self, that voice inside of you, yeah, that really you. You know yourself, you know what I mean? It's so deep than a book, you know what I mean? It's just something that you have to just observe and be a watchfulness, awareness, you know what I mean? Trying to go outside the bush and just stay meditate for 48 hours, you know, lock off the phone, you know what I mean? That relax, don't think about food and nothing, just feel yourself, you know? That's how you know you more, you know what I mean? Absolutely. Then when you get to that level of advanced step now, you can use that advantage and start stimulating these environments, these technology and books, because it starts to this is wrong and right, you know? And correct everything itself, you know what I mean? It helps you
to the classifications then. I mean, like you start to see the classifications and
classification and scanning, you know?
Yeah. And to differentiate and such.
And when you do the total activity, you have to more listen to yourself, you know, because sometimes the total is a hard fight right now. Total, when you do with total self, you know, when you do with people now, you have to stay silent for 10 minutes. Do not talk. And now you talk and you miss the moment, you know, you have to silent. Then the information come in and flow in.
So it's more like part of the self is to be observant too.
Yeah.
So that's a part
and you always tell me that observant and silent, you know me? More silent.
But, you know, and the next thing too, for move forward to Brother Ramon, the essence of loving yourself. Because part of knowing thyself is you absolutely got to know then how to take care of yourself.
True.
And I've learned that previously I used to think taking care of myself was just about how the outer appears. And sometimes I think a lot of people, they put a lot into the outer, and so they weren't putting a lot into the inner. And so the inner suffered because I was too concerned on what others saw. And so when I really began to love myself now, but before I started loving myself, I realized I didn't really love myself. You know, I mean, I tell Victoria this all the time. I realized I really didn't love myself. I had 1,000 reasons why not to. And then I said to myself, oh my God. So when I started looking at myself, I said, wow, even though I've made some crazy mistakes and bad choices, but I started looking at the fact that there's a source that gave me life.
Yes, because I find it important to know thyself inside out and try to take out the bad habits and replace it with good habits.
Oh.
You know? Because if you was a man who love go bar at night time, I love you as an example, you know? Switch it up, you know?
Yeah.
and do something else productive with your time at night time, you know? Probably read a book for an hour little, you know? And take time. Yes, blessings,
Find
brother
out.
Pai.
It's too Ramon, so the next Ramon is here.
True.
Yeah, I remember that book years ago for real. I told my wife about that book recently. Sorry brother Ramon, sorry to interrupt.
Right there.
Yeah, man. So, knowing thyself, I find it important to know yourself as a child of God.
Hallelujah.
You see me? That is the ultimate knowing thyself.
Wow.
From your deal with Christ.
Yes.
We are his children, you know. We are all his children. He don't want none to perish.
Yes.
He don't want none to perish, you know.
Absolutely.
And the enemy want him children to perish. You see me?
Absolutely. Brother.
Yes, sir.
So, you know, as Brother Ramon explained a little bit about knowing yourself, and before we go back to Brother Bob, that's one of the things I think is a little bit missing. I think people, what might be afraid to examine themselves. Because I mean, it's uncomfortable feelings. Like I said,
Because of fear.
Yeah, because as I told you, I didn't even like myself.
Because if you can't look into yourself, you have a problem. And that's the biggest problem in humankind and womankind,
Yes.
because they know the truth of themselves, and that is why they fight them own self.
Mm-hmm.
And they know the thing that they thought that told them the wrong thing, and they fight them own spirit. And you see me?
No, I'm getting it, because like,
And sometimes when you reach the enlightenment master, you have to other spirit want to fight other self not to keep yourself up.
so then the question is now, how do we direct people now to being more attentive, to being aware of the presence of self? Because if self is affected by the environment, the source of being, and also the experience you're having because of that source of being and that entangled environmental field, and you are reminding us that, well, you remind us first of the good and the bad self, the high and the lower self, and you are saying if we are not deeply engrossed in the process of removing the bad habits from self, we will not have, I guess, the benefit of self-perception. And then the fear is people have negative views of the self.
Mm-hmm.
But now, before we can even get to saying to a person, how do you get out of that? We have to examine, why is it that we have such bad views of ourselves? So one of the things I'm presuming is that our environments have a lot to do, because most time an individual who is more unique in our regular environment is not the one that heads the dominance hierarchy, which is the source of influence in our postmodernist society. The one that has the attentiveness of the people isn't just the individual perception, it's more a master of collective identity. Meaning a person who satisfies most of the pre-designed ideals the collective have of itself. And so what am I saying? It's like people saying a mold is cut to fit you, or you being cut to fit the mold.
Right.
It's like something is pre-designed and the ideas of self is just fighting to fit into these molds. So the highest mold is fitted by the most dominant personality. The strongest person is willing to fight and have it. So what I'm saying is this: that misdirection of persona is causing people to be really afraid to truly examine what is there beyond what is given to us. Because what is given to us is said to be what is. And now you go into individual personalities. You might have these ideas of being schizophrenic, psychopathic, sociopathic, you understand me? You have all these things that are thrown about when individuals are a little bit more unique. So therefore people see the negative in themselves and become afraid, not knowing that they have power through the choices we make now, right? We kind of shape the idea of self and the experience of self more towards something that's desirable?
Because they're brought up and being taught by education, and the total environment is not the right environment, but the total environment is the humanized environment. Those metaphysical people them who control their knowledge, who try to look for themselves and go back in their dark ways, and enough of them build up their dark arts of cosmos, you know. So they went in the way how they pay upon them to find their devil personality type. They teach themselves what the devil used to do there, and they try to become more devil because they're not loving themselves. They then grew up in that environment. So when I kick out to the fallen angel out in this time, you know, and found myself, I see the people who grew up in the reality and become their thought. And they're not looking to themselves no more, they develop the negative forever in that. Yeah, so each generation of a system thought to be negative only, they never realize what is positive within themselves. They don't remember part of the positive side.
So you're saying it's a taught self-hatred. And so, Brother Ramon, you can take it up too, because I mean what Bob is saying is serious, because he's saying if we are pushed away from the true self, then the evil self will take reign.
Yep.
The outer sync part of perception will start dictate the direction you act and you're living in, or the way in which you're expressing who you think you are. Is like the God and devil consciousness Rastafari have. Because Rasta would have said good man in spirit and flesh is like a God, and an evil man in spirit and in flesh is a devil. It is a very physicalized yet spiritual, natural view of the extremities of perception that the impersonal highest positive is God. The impersonal highest negative is seen as the devil. So then now I'm trying to bring it back together. Are these parts of then the good and the bad in the personality? The good self, the bad self, right? Or the good aspects of self is from God, the bad aspects of self is from the devil, or the good aspects of self is from love, understanding. I was talking about learning to love yourself in spite of these things. And the bad aspects of self is from doubt, hatred, and some kind of self-suffering. Brother Ramon, you take on those matters.
Yeah, man, because you don't know you have always the two sides of the story, you know. The good and the bad, the night and the day, light and the darkness, you know. The yin and the yang, whatever would I say, you know.
That's true.
But how we see it still, Father said, walk perfect before me. You see me? And that Him will require of us. If you truly know yourself and know say you love yourself and love the Father and you love your neighbors, you're going to walk perfect before the Most High because you love Him and you love yourself and you love everybody. Because what prevents you from walk perfect? That's when we start hate with brothers and sisters. You see me?
And that starts with a self-hatred.
Yes, I. You see me? Because I come from the thought in the mind now. Negative thoughts. The things that we are listen to, the things we are watch. You see me?
Things we are allowing to reality.
And with culture. You see me? Because you don't know Jamaican people with culture. You don't know them say you crab in a barrel. We always say it. But in reality, Marcus Garvey see it. Him look on black people and say, Jano, why we always pull down each other?
Yeah, that's some of the negative aspects in our
why we don't want to see them shine? You see me? And say, yeah, I'm glad for your next one. We more for envy the next one, you see me? What we see on the road. But we who are living in love, we don't do that to each other. You see me? We are practice love through Christ. You see me? But the ones and one who now practice love through Christ, them natural tendency now of envy, bad mind, jealousy, you see me? Hatred.
So they're very unconscious.
Yeah, very unconscious.
Yeah. They're unconscious because
mechanism too.
If them see them neighbor, sorry Bob, if they see them neighbor fix up them yard and put on a nice gate, them will start kiss them teeth and say, we want a gate too. And they want to build up nicer gate than what neighbor build up.
Yes.
If them see neighbor come with a pretty car, they want a prettier one than that. If they see them put on a new roof, they want a prettier roof than that.
So in that case, it's like they have missed the idea of improving oneself. So that will be down to motive now. So to put a lot of what I've heard and what we've been reasoning about knowing thyself, one of the most important things is realize that the impersonal self, God, the environment, your culture, or how we are socialized, has part to do with how we perceive ourselves. The rest is our personal experience that color all of those collective perceptions, and an amalgamation of both creates what we call a well-adjusted human being. Because you don't want somebody that is so steeped in the collective that we can't think to grow forward, because the collective is already thinking this way and no one is thinking to go ahead in case something goes wrong with collective perception. Then we leave ourselves at a disadvantage. So we have to be, one moment, Bob, we have to be both able to deal with the differentials of being able to, one, advance in culture, advance in understanding, but not lose the compassion and lose that inherent nature we have as human beings to want to understand each other. So our perceptions not too affected or afflicted by religious, spiritual misunderstanding, but more directed by compassion, loving, honest experiences where we can adapt to better principles and behaviors and correct a lot of the discrepancies in our persona, right? And have a better outcome.
Yes, sir.
And then I would say that a child type is more than knowing than the adult type.
True.
Because the child awareness tell you how you feel. You're not going to prep school, you're not going to church, you're not going to be because your feeling tell you. And no matter to why we've been programmed, you know what I mean? When you're younger, they know because out of experience they have a feeling, that feeling, and when they feel it, they're not going nowhere. But they don't understand that feeling and they remember that intuition, but they never realize how much they use it. If they mute it, then they will start listening to that intuition and start learning from a different consciousness. Where how the world is and how the feeling of the world around you. They will stop eat meat, they will stop go to church, they will stop go to work, you know, they start to be relaxed, start to go to the house and say, you know what, I want it all at a bush. I stop cut up the land, you know, all that grow some trees, you know, start farm up some food, you know. So the meat at the supermarket now do the right food, they add some fowl and they do the right thing, you know. That feeling, you know, that feeling is a different knowledge what you're going through a systematic energy, because most people who are out of the system because they're told, tell them to leave and find a life.
Yes, sir.
Because it's worthless. And you work like a dead. You better have your soul and dead with it, with a soul. Instead of dead with the system, you know what I mean? So it's deep because the intuition, it tell you more than what the word who you are, it's the feeling.
Absolutely.
You're right.
So ultimately be in sync with your innermost thoughts and emotions to know where you are and how you are in this experience of being self. It's not just about what's happening around you, but it's not just about what's happening inside of you. So when you ultimately feel that deeper connection with your true self, your true ontological, whether you've had a traumatic experience or some spiritual or intellectual experience, just remember the essence of the loving environment that should be created, that will be created by this connection, by this awareness, by this interaction. When you find the self, then you can start literally understand why it is appropriate to be more mannerable, respectful, because you want to send an energy out that will return to you in like kind and manner that you sent it out. So when we find the self, if we resonate, as Bob said, at the highest level, that energy field will return to us as experiences and individuals, because the self is not just personal. Others resonate on that wavelength. Soulmates are on that frequency. True friends are on that frequency of knowing self. So as you continue on the journey of knowing self, we just want to implore you to start with love, continue in love, and end in love. Continue to like, share, subscribe to Seala Media, Reasonings Right at the Tree of Life. I've been the Great Owl, Brother Ramon Singh, the Mystic Bob, and joined behind the camera by brother Ramon Elliott, call him Pi. Yeah?
Perfect love.
We give thanks and we give lots of love, lots of respect. Brother Ramon.
Perfect love.
Come in, man.
Majestic. Majestic. Tree alive.
Yeah, like that.
Alright.